Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and get going. As I'm sure you all noticed, I'm recording this session. I'm going to record all of the sessions we do this week, and they'll be available on our YouTube channel. Additionally, we might make a polished version. So when you sign on to TransIT 7, you will see that it looks radically different to begin with, and we're pretty excited about all of the changes. Signing on as an admin, your menu now looks like this, and you have these 3 blocks in the center. So this one over here will show you who's been on in the last hour, who's been active in the last 10 minutes. And if you click this link, it'll take you to a filtered issue list that shows you, specifically who those people are that are on. And so that's your new homepage. Down here, it'll show you for any steps that you personally are assigned in a test script that's due today, it'll show you when you're due up. And this here shows you all of your test rounds that are supposed to be ongoing currently. What we're going to focus on today are the things that are changing mostly for the admin. I'm going to try to go through things fairly quickly and allow time for asking questions. But again, it's only a half-an-hour session. And so if we don't get to all the questions, if you want to put your questions in the chat, or if you want to email support@makesolutionsync.com, or if you want to join one of the other sessions, all those things are perfectly acceptable. So the first thing is org settings is no longer up here on the menu. Org settings is over here, this little building icon beside your organization name. So we're going to focus a lot of time on that today. These are all the new org settings. This one here was available in TransIT 6, but wasn't used by that many clients. This is where you build custom lists for plans. So if there's something that you want to use frequently, so say your team names, your work stream names, you can build it here once, and then when you're using plans and you want to have assigned to a team, you can use that reference list. It's also good for building things like if you want to create a yes/no field in a plan for building yes/no. So you click customs to get into here, and if you want to add a new custom field, you click the add, you give it a name. And we're going to see in a minute if you still have to have the word custom in front, or maybe I'll just put it in front. Maybe you do. You used to have to in TransIT put custom in front, so you probably do. Whoops. And then once you've saved your list, you click to access the list, and you click the add button here, and you put in your value. And you add your next value, and so on. And then this list is usable in TransIT plans. Moving on to the next item then. In TransIT 6, you did not have the ability to update your own facilities. That was something you had to contact Make for. You now have access to the facilities and have the ability to build out whatever facilities you want. Anywhere in TransIT now, actually, I should have also mentioned, you'll see this mark for deletion. So we are not deleting things anymore from TransIT. We are marking them for deletion. And then once you move them to a deleted project, they don't show. But marked for deletion makes it not show in a drop-down list. So if you had all of these facilities built for your facility and a facility stopped being part of your organization, you could mark it for deletion. By marking it for deletion, it won't show in the test scripts to select as a facility. It also won't show in your scenario header details as a facility. If whatever changes and you want that facility back, you just unclick it for deletion, and then it shows up in the drop-down lists again. The next item then is the issue category. So this is not changing at all. You have the ability to go in and add and remove any, just like you always did. What you do have the ability now to do is to choose a default selection. It may be something you want to do it may not be. But to make it a default selection, all you do is you tick this box, and then when an issue is logged, it's automatically going to default, in this case, to application. Again, everything shows up in a drop-down list alphabetically unless you sequence it. So it was like that in TransIT 6. You still have the ability to sequence, and you have the ability to mark for deletion. So now we get into some new fields. There is a new issue field that's called impact, and it pairs with severity to automatically generate the priority. Sorry, to automatically create the priority based on the priority matrix. So those four things all go together. I did demo this in one of the virtual user groups, but you have to set up your impacts. So here, the ones that we've set up are extensive, large, limited, and localized. Again, it's nice to build a description because when you hover over those, they do show. So to help people determine what they should be putting for the impact. So in this case, extensive, it affects all positions or has big impacts on processes. If it's large, it affects some positions, has moderate effect on the processes, limited number of users, minor impact on processes, and localized, it's a single user or has no effect on the organizational processes. So you can see in this case, I've sequenced them 1 through 4, and that's the way they're going to appear in the drop-down list for me. So you should not have an impact built yet. So that's something you will have to go out and build. Obviously, you can play around and build it this week, but whatever you do, you'll still have to rebuild it next week when we actually go live. Or sorry, Friday when we actually are live. So then the next one is the priorities. So you can see here, I've got P1 through 4, and I've made a question. And then I've got my blocker one that I've marked for deletion. So again, you can have these be names or numbers like we have. And again, it's good to put in a description. So the idea here is first priority, second, third, and fourth. And one is if there's no workarounds. One is if you really want it fixed quickly because it's a bad workaround. 3 would be you'd like to have it fixed, but there is a good workaround in place. And 4 is for things that are insignificant in nature. And then you may choose to have or not have this question one. To have the question one work, you have to blank out your impact and your severity, because you'll see when we get to the matrix that that's where these numbers come from. And this one isn't one that'll be there. So you may choose to have question or you may not. After the priorities is the severity. And again, we've chosen critical, high, medium, and low. You can choose whatever you want. And then again, we've put a description in here. Again, in this case, we've sequenced them to have critical be at the top and low be at the bottom, because otherwise alphabetically low would come before medium. And we haven't chosen a default selection. And again, you could choose a default selection. One thing I will say is if you change your priorities this week, in the next couple of days, they'll come across and you won't have to do that again, but you'll still have to build the impact and the severity. So, you know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another if you do it today or tomorrow, or if you wait till Friday. So then after the severity is the statuses, and it's the same thing as you currently have now. You can build them and sequence them. So here we've tried to sequence them in the order that they would occur. Then with regards to the issue status, it's the same as it always was, opened versus closed, so that when we're trying to look at closed issues, you have the type attached to it. So we've got canceled that's closed, and closed that's closed, and hold that's open. So again, that's nothing different than what you have now. And then we get to the matrix. So the matrix, when you build your impacts and your severities, it will list your severities and your impacts, and then you have to put in your priorities. So in my drop-down list here, it shows P1, 2, 3, 4 in question because that's what I built. So you're going to have to manually go in and tick these boxes however you want them. So in this case, we've said for critical, if it's extensive, it's P1. If it's large, it's still P1. If it's limited, P2, and then P3. If anybody, I mean, you can put in whatever you want. This is what we've put. If you want, we can help you afterwards if you're not sure what to put in. But anyway, and then with highs, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 across. Then if it's medium, it starts at P2. It can't be more than a P2 if it's medium, and it can't be more than a P3 if it's low. So these are the matrix, the way we've built it, and you can set it up any way you like. If you don't set it up, then in your issues, you'll be asked to put in your severity and your impact, and this will not auto-populate. If you put it in, it'll auto-populate based on what you've built. So then the next is the note statuses. There's no change in the note status except for the ability to mark it as deleted. In this case, we do recommend in your test notes that you have them default to new. Just one less tick for the tester to need to do. And then there's note types. So you can have whatever you want in here. These are the ones we generally recommend. I will say too that, you also have the ability in a lot of these settings to take our defaults if you want, but it doesn't look like this one it is. So you just go and leave these as they are. There's nothing really changing here. If there's something that you don't like, you can either change it before we go to production and it'll come over, or you can wait and change it afterwards. Then we get to plan category. So this is just a way to group your plans that you have out there. This will, this is, I assume if you have categories already there, and maybe Brian or someone can confirm that they would have come across and we would have pre-built it for you. But in the meantime, if you want to add a new category for the types of plans, you would have to come in here and add it by doing the add plan category. So it's just a way to categorize your plans to be able to filter more effectively and get to the plans that you want to see. Positions, we will have brought over your positions. If you've got 1,000,000 positions, like you can see, I have 465. So if you've got 1,000,000 positions built that you don't ever use and you would like to get rid of them, then I would say go ahead and clean that up over the next couple of days, and then they'll be gone. So if you built out 1,000,000 positions for each of your sites and you've got a whole bunch of sites and you actually never, ever, ever use those, I would say clean it up beforehand. Otherwise, what you would do is you would wait till you get here and you can, select a whole bunch. Oh, no, you have to individually tick them. So for sure, I would say clean it up beforehand if you've got hundreds that you don't ever use. And then the position logins will come across from what you currently have built. So as well, if you built out a whole bunch of positions and you built out a whole bunch of different logins for each of the vendors and you never ever use it, again, I would clean it up before you get here. So the thing about the projects page is that before it used to show on tasks. So we mentioned in a couple of the virtual user groups, for those who weren't able to attend, tasks are gone in TransIT 7. So it makes it much more streamlined and makes it much easier to create and maintain test scripts. But in the meantime, you do still have the concept of projects. So projects have their own page and it's under org settings. And everyone will get a deleted project. So the point of the deleted project is that we don't really delete content anymore. We mark it for deletion and we move things to the deleted project. So in the testing session, we'll be showing that, if you've got a module or a script that you don't want anymore, that you change the project to be the deleted project. And that just moves it to this bucket here and makes it not display. In the meantime, any projects that you currently have will show here, and you're going to want to have current state as the default. If you're working on a major project and you're building a whole bunch of content, then, there might be some sense in for a period of time changing the default to be that project. So if you've been live and you've had your system live for a long time and you've been working in current state and you're re-implementing, you're moving to another EHR vendor, or you're deciding to work on a major upgrade, then you might want to come in and change this default. Otherwise, the recommendation would be to have it at current state. The next is roles, and some people are using these effectively, others aren't. So roles are mostly for use in plans when you're saying what role should do an activity when you don't have a specific name attached to it. Roles used to be under users, now it's directly under the org settings, and whatever you have built will come across. The next then is the script detail names. So these are actually really, really cool now. We did bring over all of the ones that are existing for everyone so that you won't lose them, but you now have the ability to add your own. So I did talk about this in the virtual user group as well. If you add your own and you're thinking that it's something that everybody would want, then you're thinking that we would build global content around it. It's probably not a bad idea to say, this is the scenario detail that you're thinking of adding, and have us add it the same way. So when these are used properly in test scripts, they really make the test script development and readability a lot better. And if you have ones that are different, so for example, if you changed visit to be visit number, then anywhere where we've referenced visit in a module or in a script, it wouldn't work for you. So that's why we've brought all of these over as is. But again, if there's something that is specific to your organization that you never asked us to add because you knew it was specific to your organization, go ahead and add it. We've tried to organize these to be, this is all demographics at the top, and then it gets into more of the clinical things down here, or financials, and then clinicals, et cetera. But you can organize them any way you like by changing the sequence numbers. Okay, the next thing then is the user file. So what you'll see now is if you inactivate a user, they'll have a little head with a cross through it. There's not that much different here. When you add a user, it's broken up this way now. So you can set the password. Right now, there's not an indicator. There's an issue log for this. There's not an indicator for whether you want to turn texting on for this person or not. So hopefully that'll get fixed in the next couple of days, but it didn't sound like anyone was doing any major rounds of testing between now and the end of the year. So I'm sure it'll be fixed pretty quickly. The one thing I will remind people of, we ask that you make the username the person's email address. And the reason for this field here, the notify email, is if you want to receive your email notifications from TransIT to a different email. So what people have used that for in the past is put in distribution list names. So for example, if when you log an issue to the registration team, you don't really want it to go to a specific person, you want everyone to get notified, then you would still assign that person, but you would put in, instead of their email address, they would put in the distribution for their registration group or whatever. So again, that's existing functionality, but I'm not sure if everybody knows about that. Then we get down to vendors and users. I'm pretty sure that in the conversion, what's going to happen is that if there's things that you don't have any content built for and you have the vendor set up for it, so you've got 500 vendors and you've never used any, I don't think they're all going to come across for you. I think what you've built content for will come across. And if you wanted to add a vendor, again, you don't have to ask us anymore. You just add the vendor. The same is true then for applications. We've brought over the applications for the vendors that are set up where anyone has content built. But if there's things, applications, and there are hundreds of them that never had anything built for them, then they're not necessarily going to come across. And again, to add one, you just click the add icon here. and then you can set up your application. So significantly different from now where you have to call us to get things set up. I guess the other thing to show would be issues. So the issue list is significantly different now. When you go to add a new issue, it brings up this form with these very few little fields, and that's to really facilitate issue logging for plans and for test scripts. And so if you put in a new issue, you then get to choose your category as you always would. Whoops. And here's where the severity and impact come in. So again, it's these are the severities I built, so I can choose one. These are the impacts. I'm going to say it's extensive. You have the ability to attach attachments here. You also have the ability to do a screenshot here. I like to do my screenshots on the inside of the issue, but when I click create here, it added my new issue. And then when I reopen that issue, here's where I have all the other fields I can fill in. So you can see that P1 is defaulted into the priority based on the severity and the impact I've chosen. In your test steps, it's going to automatically default in the vendor and application the way it does now. But again, like if I wanted to do a screenshot, I can just do my screenshot. And if I go here and paste it in and save it, then it has my screenshot down here. I mean, it was ugly screenshot I took, but you also still have the ability to add attachments. And if you add an attachment and it's a picture type, I believe it'll show you a preview of it. Yeah, so it shows you the preview. And then if you want to get rid of your attachment, you just click delete. But anyway, it's much nicer to be able to have everything face up in screenshots and not have to continuously open and download attachments. The other thing that is kind of cool in issues, if you're managing a test round, say we wanted to, we saw these ones where, where no one was assigned. I can filter to my blanks, and I'm not going to do all of them, but I can click on one, shift click, and do review selected issues, and it's going to build me a list here of all the ones that don't have an assignment. So then when I go through and I start assigning these out, it then is going to change the color of it over here, so I know that's one that I've worked, and so then I can just continue to work down my list. Oops. And so on. So it's a nice way when you're managing a test round to be able to go in and do things like assign issues that aren't assigned, etc. So I've gone through all of the major things. I'm going to go through setting up test rounds in the testing one, so I won't touch on that here. But I guess did I say to everybody that to get to your own user settings, you now use this icon here, and it takes you to your user settings. There's now a log out, so you sign out by going to your user settings and clicking sign out. This is where you can change your own password, and this is where you turn on your notifications, and this is where you turn on your notifications for the test rounds. So with that, does anybody have any questions about anything I've shown today?
I'll go. I have one. Is there
Sure.
any way to tell from the position list those positions that have never been used?
If they're not in a test script, I don't think there is, Christy.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
Okay.
And I don't think we'll have time to get everyone a query between now and then.
No, that's okay. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I mean, the original thought was that, if you had a whole bunch of different facilities, people might have different passwords in those facilities, etc. But nobody has really used that functionality. So those are the kinds of things that I was thinking people would clean up. Does anybody else have a question? So hopefully a lot of the people on this call got the email. Like I tried to reach out to the main admins at each site. We really are wanting people to go in and validate their data. And I did send the list of things that you could potentially go out and validate. Um, we've done many mock conversions, so we feel pretty good that the data is all there and is all the way you would expect it to be. I've heard back from a couple people that they validated their data and are happy with what they've seen. But the current plan is Thursday at close of business is when we would start the upgrade process, and it should be up and available to you on Friday. There are no current test rounds planned for any client until I think December 18th. So we wanted to have enough time to get it to bake in before the first major test round was happening. If there are no other questions, then
Patty, I do have a question.
Sure.
In TransIT 6, we used to be able to go to, say, the list of issues and highlight 2 or 3, doesn't matter, and do change a field. If it was being, let's just say they were all issues assigned to me and I wanted to assign them to you. Is there an easy way you can? Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
It is logged though. That is logged as an enhancement request. So right now,
Okay.
the only things that you can do a mass change on are vendor application and status, but that will be changing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I guess we could go out and look and see what priority that is. And since you asked about it, we can make sure it's a P2. Right now, we have no go live issues. So we are a go for Thursday night unless, somebody on one of these calls finds something in their data validation that we haven't found. And like I said, I've heard back from a couple of clients already that their data has validated and that they're happy with it. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much for attending, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.